Okay, I'm just doing an unboxing of the unit. These are the connectors. Looks like there's a number of connectors that won't know their purpose until I actually try to connect it to the truck. Here's the head unit itself. These appear to be the mounting brackets. And then there's a couple boxes inside that I'm assuming have some of the accessories that I ordered with the unit. And there's a user manual. So this appears to be the rear of the unit that will connect into the screen. And these are the various connectors and accessories that I purchased with the unit. Looks to be a 4G antenna, and microphone, USB cable, second USB cable, GPS antenna. This is the forward view camera that I purchased with the unit, which was an option. These are some mounting tabs. And this is the TPMS unit that I also ordered as an option with this. So everything you see here came with the actual unit except for the front camera and the TPMS monitoring system. So next step will be to start to take apart the dash of the truck to get ready to install this. Okay, I'm going to attempt to take this area of the dash apart in order to get at the radio unit. So the first step, I've seen in some videos where you have to remove the center console. This truck has the center console, but you can just pull this piece out directly. And you have to disconnect the two 12-volt sockets. One, that's two. Now I also have some extra wiring here that isn't in the stock vehicle. That's a switch for cameras I installed for my existing head unit, so you can ignore these. So the next step is to take this part out. It does just pop out similar to this one on these clips, but I need to get it started. Also, this part of the dash has to be lifted just out of the way a little bit. As you pull this piece will come loose. So just have to lift it a little bit so it's out of the way. And then this unit can be pulled out from behind it. And there are a number of connectors back here that have to be disconnected. That's one. Second one. You have to bear with me because I'm just checking to see where things came out of. Now there's a USB port here that I'm replacing. So I'm just going to pull that out. There we go. Okay, now the head unit itself has 4 bolts. There's one in here, one here, one here, and one down there. And I believe they are, looks like 10 or 12 mil. So I'll remove those 4 bolts. And they are 10 mil. So this is not the factory head unit that came with this truck. This truck is an SR5 model, so it had no screen. But I added this soon after I got the truck, and the old radio is on the same brackets and comes out the same way. And the head unit is on some clips that just pull out. Don't want to lose these bolts, so I'm going to grab those. Okay, 4 bolts are out of place. I'll pull the head unit out. have to pull the connectors. That's the antenna. There's a little catch here, but I'm having trouble getting my fingers on it. That's the old head unit. It's rather large and bulky. And the brackets that are on this need to be removed and put on the new head unit. Now the mess of wires you see here is not factory. They're a harness that was used with the replacement head unit. I'll show you the factory connectors once I take these apart. So that's one factory connector. There's a little clip. Okay. This is another factory harness. That's the reverse camera. Okay, so in terms of factory pieces, this is associated with the antenna, the backup camera, these three connectors are factory connectors. The antenna is also factory connection for the radio, or the radio antenna. And all these additional wires you see are from the replacement unit. So I will remove the non-factory items here off camera and then come back for the installation. Okay, so we've done some wiring in the background based on my own setup here. I have a setup for a trailer camera, so you can ignore all this wiring to the right. This is the factory harness right here, and this is what we're going to connect the unit into, and you can ignore all the other wiring in the back. These two are USB cables going to a pair of USB ports on the console of the dash, which is something I purchased separately on Amazon. And This is the actual smarts of the head unit, not the screen attaches to the cable, which I'll do later. So what I've got attached here is an optional TPMS antenna, which will allow me to monitor the tire pressure and the tires of the truck. And I've also purchased a front camera option, which is this cable here, which plugs into a specific port for that purpose. The rear camera that is in the truck connects into the rear view camera cable coming from the connections on the unit. So the main unit connector is this, and it plugs into this spot right here. And the back part of these connections are the ones that connects into the truck's harness. Now, not all of these connections are used according to the instructions. It depends on the options in your truck. So mine is an SR5 with the base radio. Well, I guess it's a mid-range radio. So following the instructions will tell you which connectors need to be plugged in. Similarly, these two RCA connectors, two of them are used down here in my case, connected to these two connections according to the instructions. The other two are for a different radio, different factory radio. So, and I think it'll be easier actually to connect this after. Okay. So the harness connections will connect into the truck's factory cables, and you basically match up the ones that will actually fit. The other ones are not used. This one appears to be this one. This one is unused on my truck. This one looks like this one here. And there is one more here. Looks like it needs to this particular connector here. And it appears that these three connectors are not used for this particular head unit, and that connector doesn't have a partner to connect into. And I guess one other thing for the backup camera, there is a reverse wire that comes on 12 volts when you're in reverse, and I've connected that into the camera power itself. So again, the camera is not provided with, the rear camera was not provided with this system, so it's set up a little differently, but connects into the unit, into the rear view camera connection through this RCA plug. So I think that is all of the connections we need to make here. One other thing to note, I mentioned this one, I guess that's it. Oh, and there's also a GPS antenna that's provided with the unit that I mounted up under the, where a center speaker would go on an up model truck, and the GPS connection comes out here, for the wire. need to connect that onto the back of the unit as well. So there is a GPS antenna cable connector here. Connect that up. And there is also a Wi-Fi antenna that is used for, assuming, connecting a Wi-Fi signal into the interior of the truck. So I'll connect it up here. It also has an antenna. Oh yes, and my two USB cables from the aftermarket USB 2-port connector that I've got plug into the unit into two USB ports that I can't really turn because of all the other connections in place, but I'll just plug those in. It's pretty obvious. Oh, and one other note, the antenna for the TPMS sensor goes into a port labeled USB OTG, and the other two USBs just go into the two USB ports. So there's 3 USB ports in total, and I'm using all 3. So I should be able to slide the unit. Oh, I guess I need to plug in the main cable there. So this plugs into the left rear of the unit. As the connection, the main connection into all of the OEM ports or cables on the truck. It is quite a tangle of wires back here. Now there's 2 mounting systems that were suggested in the instructions, and I've chose the one that uses the OEM bolts. Oh, I forgot one thing. There's a microphone as well that has to plug into the unit. And there should be a microphone port on the back. Yes, I can't show it to you, but it's right beside the USB ports. Okay. Okay, and then we use the factory bolts to put the connector in place, the ones we took out in the earlier step. I'll put in the 2 easiest ones first. I use the extension to put the furthest bolts in. is one that's going to fight you. Okay, and I'll just tighten those up with the ratchet. Don't want to over tighten them. Okay, well, maybe this one a little bit more. Okay, that's good and tight now. And then the last thing is for the head unit is the actual screen. So the screen, I've chosen to mount the screen separately from the unit. You can also do an installation where the two are mounted together and then you put it all in as one unit. I just preferred this method for whatever reason. So I just plug in the cable and engage the two locks so the cable doesn't fall out. And then the screen should just snap into place with the clips. Oops. Okay, so the bottom of the screen will be held in by the next panel that goes in. Well, those aren't very tight actually. I'm going to change the clips that are there because that isn't holding in very well. I'll pause things here and come back once I've changed the plastic clips in the back. Okay, so I've changed out the clips on the back for standard OEM Toyota ones. The previous ones are from my old head unit and they weren't fitting that tightly. So I'll plug the video cable back in. Make sure it's tight. Oh yeah, see how this fits. Okay, so now we have the screen in place, the head unit in place. I'll replace the two remaining panels on the dash. Still have our panel here that's pulled out a bit to allow this HVAC control to go into place. Now there's one cable back here I had to disconnect. So I'll plug that back in. There's another couple cables here that are not used based on the options on the truck. Yes, I think it's this white one here that will fit. Now the other thing to notice, I have two extra cables here, which are my USB inputs to the head unit. I'll show you the aftermarket setup here once we have the panel in place. So we slide this fan control knob behind this panel, and we have two clips that go into the bottom of the head unit. Just double checking that everything's connected properly. Okay, everything's snapped into place there. And now this panel can go back into place. Okay. So this is the aftermarket sort of designed for this truck unit that nicely integrates your two USB inputs from the head unit, which is great. This last panel has two connections for each of the 12-volt sockets. One of them is already plugged in. The other one, I think I've got them reverse sides here. Just a sec. The cables are only so long. These wires that you see here, those are not part of the factory install. That's a set of switches or a switch that I installed to be able to switch between my reverse camera that is a Toyota OEM unit and then my trailer camera, because there's only, to my knowledge, two camera inputs on the head unit. Okay, that went on. Now this panel should just snap into place, which does. Okay, and that's the finished installation. I'll back up the camera here a bit to show the full view. So that's what it looks like with the all the panels in place. Looks quite sharp. I like how the screen integrates into the center console quite nicely and just fills the space. Okay, so next step will be the first try of the unit. Okay, we're going to do the first fire up of the unit. Appears to boot up pretty quickly. I have an optional TPMS system connected, so you'll see some messages associated with that. Oh, and there's the display for it. It boots up very, very quickly. Oh, and I purchased an optional front camera. I already had a rear camera in the truck. So front camera is accessed through this. That gives a front camera view. Then you can go to the rear camera. So that's pretty slick. To find Apple CarPlay in this particular setup, you go to the menu button and you scroll over to Z-Link, which is the app that runs to give you Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. And in my case, I have an Apple phone, so it is connecting to the phone. And now you've got all the features of Apple CarPlay. So, for instance, if I want to bring up the Waze map, if you're into Waze, then you can do that. You've got the music selection, and you have settings, which you can go through and customize your Apple CarPlay the way you would actually like it. There's the widgets page, which in this case is currently sitting on music. There's music and map split. And somewhere over here, you've got your various apps in Apple CarPlay. I don't have a lot loaded just yet, but there's a few. Looks like there's a sound equalizer. Okay, with some various setups for your speakers in your car. I have basic 4 speakers, so nothing fancy there. Very, very capable equalizer, it appears. Looks like you can save some profiles from that. Fader. Oh, it looks like you can customize it for drivers and passengers and such, which is kind of cool. And then various modes. And all the screens seem to be really responsive. There's their apps windows. I haven't really downloaded any apps as yet, but you can see the range that are already there. I also have a third camera, which I use for my trailer that I tow with this truck. And I've connected it up to the auxiliary in port, which is very slick. I can't show it now because the trailer isn't connected to the truck. It just comes up, assuming blank. Yeah, because there's nothing connected there. Oops. So what else we've got? Yeah, just some random apps if you're interested in that. Also like the fact it's got a hard volume control. Yeah, I guess the other functions here, there's a settings function, and it's got a bunch of options here. Setting up your, I guess, Wi-Fi network in the vehicle. If you set that up, in my case, the unit hasn't been connected to the cellular network, so I'll use my phone's data connection, and I could set up a hotspot on my phone and then have this connect to that hotspot, which is kind of cool. And Bluetooth connectivity, of course. Some common setups. I haven't played with a bunch of these as yet. And then sound, so various options for sound. Those I'll have to play with over time. Display options, so set up for your reverse camera. Set up for your auxiliary camera. Oh, and this also seems to have the front camera set up as well. Some various system application settings. Something called colorful lights, which I saw in the manual, but no idea what that does. Don't really care. And then there's some system settings down below here. So overall, lots and lots of capability, and seems very, very quick and responsive. The cameras work pretty seamlessly from what I've seen. I'll have to try the trailer camera, but again, I have to move the truck in position to set that up. And I had mentioned as well, I'd set up a down below here something I'd purchased off of Amazon, which is a set of USB ports that connect into the unit above and fit nicely into the existing slots in the Toyota Tundra fascia here. So that's going to be handy. So that's a very quick tour of kind of a first look at the unit, and looking forward to playing with it and setting up some more.